Hello everybody, it's Kadzowe and thank you for watching my Ancestry videos. So this is really interesting because I did have one of my viewers that asked me a really interesting question. And it was interesting because of all of you that watch my videos, there are some of you who happen to be of mixed ancestry. So you clearly know your ancestral roots. You happen to be of mixed ancestries. And I had one of my, people that watch me who sent me a message and said, Kadzowe, I am of mixed ancestry and I clearly know that I'm German and African American. And I have no doubt I embrace both those sides. And so their question was, how is mixed race viewed in the world globally? What's the experience being mixed race in, for example, Africa versus the USA? If you're interested in this information, stay tuned. Yes, there is a very big difference in how mixed race individuals have experienced life in Africa versus the United States. And I'll share with you 3 of the main observations that I have seen from lived experience that will help you see the global perception when it comes to that type of ancestry. And so the biggest thing in Africa that I've seen that's really different from the USA is that Africa tends to be a paternal country. What that means is that every child that is born into the father side of the family. Now, there are some tribes where the child is actually born into the mother's side, taking after the mother's side of the family. Now, that's another story. But today, I will focus on the majority. And so in many African countries, including my own, that is usually what the case is. So when a child is born, regardless of their ancestry, you go into your paternal ancestry. So if your father happens to be Black and from, for example, in my country, which is Kenya, then you would follow that particular tribe. If the father happens to be Western or from the Western part of the world, I'll say in this case, probably German, then you are German, and that is how you're perceived. So the whole paternal versus maternal perspective, I know is very, very different in Africa versus in the United States, where it is automatically associated with the drop rule, where if you are of mixed race, then you are automatically, in a lot of cases, considered Black. The second key thing that I have seen that is a little bit different in how individuals of mixed heritage or biracial individuals are perceived in Africa versus in the United States is this whole notion of a perception that you are somebody who is the best of both worlds. So the worlds, it's not that one is less. It's not that the mixed ancestry makes you necessarily better. It's the richness and the blending of the cultures, the duality that is really celebrated. And it's very interesting to see that. And the reason why personally I actually like the African way of celebrating ethnicities and ancestral roots is because there's value in both sides. And so when you grow up in a way where you can value both and not really lean more towards one or the other, and not to judge it, because I think with individuals who are biracial, the leaning is based on very individualized experiences, and you can't really judge that, especially with the historical context of everything that happens in the United States with regards to race. But I am sharing with you this perspective in Africa where it is really emerging of the best of both worlds. And so there's a lot of terminology that is used in that, and that is celebrated without one being looked at as less than the other. The third and final big difference between being biracial in Africa versus the United States that I have observed that is really, really interesting is that as a biracial individuals, you have the choice to embrace, and it is not judged. It is not looked at as any way or form. It is just what it is. So together with really that perception of the best of both worlds comes the ability to be able to embrace, and people understand why you would embrace whatever ethnic ancestral lineage that you have. So for example, if you happen to be of German roots and you happen to be of African roots and you choose to be able to embrace the African roots, then yes, go ahead and do that. If you happen to be German and you want to choose and embrace the German roots, go ahead and do that. And so it was very interesting in a lot of the, seeing all my biracial friends and being able to kind of like see them emerge and grow. They would actually have an ability to explore both worlds, and it was perfectly fine without any judgment. In fact, I do have friends who did that, and it was pretty cool to see. And so folks, thank you again for watching my ancestral videos and just reaching out to me and asking me questions. It's always nice to be able to share a lot of these experiences coming in from Africa, and just to be able to give you some intake into some insight into globally how things are perceived. Because we sometimes tend to live in a silo, and sometimes I think in the United States, we don't kind of see what happens out there in other parts of the world. And I hope that if you're a person of mixed ancestry, that you are able to celebrate the uniqueness of what this experience brings. So folks, remember, as always, I love your comments. You're always so engaged with ancestral videos. If you happen to be somebody of mixed ancestry, regardless of where you live in the world, let's talk about it. Go ahead and share your experience. What is it that you love the most? What are the challenges? What is it that you feel is your purpose in the world as somebody that embraces the best of both worlds? So I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you for watching, everybody. Until my next ancestral video. Bye.